Ms. Ramesh is a poet, editor, anthropologist, and festival director. Ramesh's initiatives culminated in founding In Haiku, an initiative to bring Indian haiku under one umbrella. She has taught haiku and allied genres at Symbiosis International University and the National Writers Workshop. She authored 4 acclaimed books and co-edited 8 international haiku and tanka anthologies. She has organized 6 World Haiku Utsaves in India. Ms. Ramesh is deeply interested in how families, communities, and the world at large view personal and cultural experiences, and how writing about these experiences is calming and beneficial for emotional well-being. I'd like to request Ms. Kala Ramesh to introduce with us today.
Yeah, should I start? Yes.
Yes, please.
How much time are you giving?
10.
I begin with loneliness, a theme often handled in a sensitive way in haiku. I feel lonely as I gaze at the lonely as I think about myself. And I feel lonely as I ponder upon this wretched life. I want to cry out that I'm lonely, but no one asks how I am. But no one asks how I feel. Matsyo Basha. A poem on loneliness from Issa. My dead mother, every time I see her, my dead mother, every time I see the ocean, my dead mother, every time I see the ocean, every time. The poems I read, they were quite heavy. Flight passengers swarm around the conveyor belt. Ha! The freedom to walk away without baggage. Flight passengers swarm around the conveyor belt. Ha! The freedom to walk away without baggage. My worn out sandals. My worn out sandals. The cobbler finds them difficult to mend. My worn out sandals. The cobbler finds them difficult to mend. I find them hard to discard. Okay, yes. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ramesh. Our next poet this evening is Ms. Menka Shivdasani. Ms. Shivdasani is a Mumbai-based writer, has 4 collections of poetry to her credit. Her first book, Nirvana at 10 rupees, was published in 1990, and her most recent, Frazil, was brought out in 2018. Ms. Shivdasani is co-translator of Freedom and Fishers, an anthology of Sindhi partition poetry, and editor of If the Roof Leaks, Let It Leak, an anthology of women's writings. Her poems have appeared in several publications, and her work is represented in Indian Literature in English, an anthology, a textbook of the University of Mumbai. She organizes an annual poetry festival at the Kitab Khana bookstore for the global movement, 100,000 Poets for Change. In 1986, she played a key role in founding the Poetry Circle in Mumbai. Ms. Menka Shivdasani's work as a journalist includes the publication of 17 books, 3 of which were released by the then Prime Minister, Bihari Vajpayee. I'd like to request Ms. Shivdasani to read her poems to us.
Thank you so much. Is that on?
Yes.
Good evening, everyone. I'll begin with some very early poems written when I was about 16 and then move on to some more recent work. So to begin with a small introductory poem called Crystal. For all its glitter, Diamond is only carbon. Never mind differences in price, quality, prestige. Carbon, they said, was black, ugly. So they changed the refractive index, used it as lead to shoot graphitic holes in paper masks, then realized it could be polished to still greater purposes, and made what we call a diamond. The softness gradually became hard. Today, only another diamond can cut me. Another poem called Hinges is also from the same period, when I was 16. Hinges. I found my body hinged like any other door. It could open and close with just a push. It had been pushed too often. One hinge was insecure, the other firm as iron. No tool seemed to work when I was unhinging myself, and carpenters charged exorbitant rates. So I decided to leave it where it was. Now I'm building another body for myself. So I think all of us will remember the time when the Ramayana serial was on Doordarshan.
Yes.
Yeah. So this poem was written at that time, and one could not escape the serial because if it wasn't being shown on television, it was being recorded, and then we watched and re-watched it. It was just so. This poem is called Ramayana Revisited. The television seeps through the wall like yet another nightmare. Somebody's crying as usual, tomato ketchup oozing past a knife. And here, something else coagulates beneath my eyelash. Nothing they taught me in the chemistry lab prepared me for the iodine gas raging purple as a sin in my gut. Some awful cure for a wound that turned to air. Sita, garish as a myth, lacerates me as she wails on the screen. So much motion trapped in a drawing room cabinet. I rock on the chair, remain exactly where I am. See Sita get carried away by the demon. Then it is too much. Later, the news comes on. The child, emaciated, is no longer even a headline. The reader turns to the latest cricket. A bomb explodes inside my womb. But I survive till Sunday comes again. Time for Sita to creep back through the wall. I slide the week behind me like grime, or rather like a snake sheds its skin. Swallow my past like a rabbit, whole, undigested, and it shows somewhere in the middle of my coil. I want to stick my fangs into Sita, but she vanishes just as I strike. This is a comparatively more recent poem called Bird Woman. On one of those days when the key refused to fit the padlock, I turned myself to air and squeezed through the keyhole. It was bright outside, and I was tired of all those jostling women. Nomad with her frayed suitcase, devil woman with her lacerated tail, and that sad little lady with her stained and grimy apron, who seemed so familiar, disintegrating in 1,000 homes. All these women and a few more were crowding in, and the keyhole that sat at my shoulder was at cracking point. I knew I had somehow lost my way in the brightness outside after all those years in a dingy room. Stretching my legs was a strain, and breathing was a whole new experience. But folded up behind my back, I found some. They were slightly, but once I got used to their rusty screech, I found, strangely enough, they worked. I'm making friends with the birds now. and have discovered my talents too, which sink perfectly into the eagle with his beady eyes. Breathing is still a problem sometimes, but the air is warm, and I have left those jostling women behind. I'll go back to an early poem, not very early, but sort of in my second book. It's my version of a love poem. It became one of the signature poems of my, I think it was my first book actually, not my second. It became one of the signature poems of my first book. It's called Spring Cleaning. Here it is, my version of a love poem. That was your skull on the bottom shelf, staring socketless at my ankle. It was a surprise find among those bunches of old clothes. Once I would have screamed. Now I've learned to discard what doesn't fit, and especially all that's ugly. Carelessly draped on a hanger, I found an arm leaning bonily towards the perfumes. In another corner, a dislocated knee. Did you run away so fast you broke your leg? I wish you'd wipe that foolish, toothless grin off your stupid face. You needn't be embarrassed about letting me down. Other men have too, and they didn't disintegrate like you. What the hell does one do with human remains? Should I put them in the wastebasket and let the sweepers see? Or struggling under the weight, dump a gun bag off the beach? You really are a nuisance turning up on a lethargic Sunday. Now go away. When I want to say hello, I'd rather walk up to the graveyard with a sweet-smelling bunch of flowers, look sad, and pretend you are still below the earth.
Wow.
Thank you. So, maybe 3 poems more? So this is my personal favorite. It's called Tea Party. There are people in this audience who've heard it before, so my apologies, Saranji. But Tea Party. When you and I were about to break, there was no question of a fight over who'd take the cups and who the saucers. You spilled over with steam, meniscus rippling with the slightest touch. I, supine on the floor, licked the milk once meant for you. Both of us were China at that point. One of us had been to China too, known the meaning of porcelain freedoms, sniffed red guards. One of us had known the sound of an alien tongue, harsh and guttural as it came smiling mouths. Our smiles were circular, yours and mine. Yours from the top of the tea and mine below, two halves joined together on separate brims. When we blew at each other, the crockery stayed firm. And who but you and I would know the liquid moved? No, there was no fight over chipped white glass. The pieces lay on the kitchen floor. And I've moved to tea parties in other living rooms, balancing alien porcelain on a frigid palm. We have a very eminent Sindhi poet in this audience, and I would like to read a poem I've never actually read before at any reading. And since we are in a space that keeps languages alive, this one is called The River Bank. There are many references to Sindhi folk stories in this, which I don't have time to explain here, but surely maybe we can discuss it later. The River Bank. Wrapping the road with a flourish around my skin, I stepped into history and looked for lost homelands. soothing breezes, aromatic, alive, steeped in wine, fragrant, with folklore and mist. The reams fell behind like orange peel as I walked, seeds moist as they touched concrete paths. There was much to discover and grow as we moved. Language, chattering in the cold, sat hunched over a half-eaten meal and a glass of stale beer, its chipped tongues slurring and with pitted bones. Moomal hid behind the unexplored mountain. Marui peeped through curtains and cringed. Poverty's sad foes led the way as I walked over a road that was empty and long. I strained my ears for the sound of bhagats, storytellers with their dholaks and songs. But the sounds that emerged from the distance were like car horns that bled through my skin. I stepped back and fell into a commercial. Shah Latif's voice faded back into the book. My spirit, like Sasri, lay gently in its wooden box and floated away. Now, on the other side of the river bank, I have set my roots in thin earth. I curl up into this tangled skin, and the ground cracks above, then stays still. Unfortunately, there was a whole generation, or more than one generation, that lost contact with the Sindhi culture and language because of partition. So I do have a few partition poems, I won't get into them. And a last poem, I think, one last poem. So this is a very recent one, and it's about silence. And so soon after Sri Lanka, I wanted to read this. Implosion. When you have much to say, but choose the padlocked door, and feel the grating of rusted keys upon your tongue. The levers click and move, though no one knows. Silence descends like a butterfly on the wood, flutters and flirts with unrelenting grain. These terrors have no sophistry, no plutonian sneaking up jelly thighs. They fall like shrapnel from bombed-out walls. They coat your tongue with char. The flamingos have left our city. This marshland swirls and gurgles in my throat. The padlocked door has been forced open now, but the silence sticks like soot. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Shivdasani. The last poet of this evening, Professor Sanjukta Dasgupta, is an eminent writer in English, and her works have been influenced by Rabindra, T.S. Eliot, Ashapurna Devi, Sunil Gangupathyay, and Virginia Woolf. Some of her major literary works include Two Planes of Reality, Snapshots, Dilemma, Abuse and Other Stories, First Language, and Mani Manish. Professor Dasgupta is a member of the Academic Council of Central University of Orissa, Advisory Committee of Asian Review, Seoul, and President of Indian Poetry and Performance Library, ICCR, Kolkata. She retired as a professor of the Department of English, Calcutta University in the year 2017. She is also a member of Sahitya Akademi's Executive Board and the General Council. Before we get an insight into her world of poetry, I would like to request Professor Dasgupta to share with us her deliberations, say a few words, maybe, please.
The first thing I tried to do was hitting the wrong button. Yes. But yes, it's just wonderful to be back here in this room. And since I became a member of the English Advisory Board, the previous convener of the English Advisory Board is here, and being a member of the General Council and then being nominated as taking over from Professor Malashri Lal, it was scary because Malashri Lal is such a fantastic performer that after that, whatever I did, I had to always check with her to see whether I was on the right track. And of course, as you find that Dr. Rao, who is the Secretary of Sahitya Academy, has placed, this chair is not my choice. Yes, he made me sit here so that all of you can keep a close watch on me. So it's been wonderful working with the Sahitya Academy, learning a lot, and I'm also very happy to be here in Delhi right now. I'll be here for the next 3 weeks, and to be invited with Kala and Menka to read my poems. And Kala, of course, as you heard her, has been experimenting with some of the very traditional, ancient Japanese style of poetry writing, which requires a lot of technical brilliance. And she has done it very well, and both in her handling of the short, pithy, epigrammatic haiku, and the haiban, which is more prose inflected, and then she came on to tanka. So it's been a real treat to be able to really learn about the fact that how well haiku, haiban, tanka can lend itself to the English language. Yes, because they were not originally written in English. But, you know, this is not about linguistic translation, this is about cultural transfer. And you have done it brilliantly. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
And Menka started with her poems that she wrote at the age of 16. I was feeling a little scared that at the age of 16, it would all be about failed relationships and boyfriends who never looked at her. But she started with diamonds, yes? And how diamonds become very hard in their brilliance, yes? So you are a student of science, but she handles, so what we consider to be absolutely a holistic approach in terms of writing poetry is what Menka has demonstrated by her readings. And these are also emotionally charged, very, very sensitive. And she's talked about also being what being a woman is, and also going much beyond the identity of the gendered identity when she has expressed her distress at the terror that goes on everywhere, and also ending with a reference to Sri Lanka. So Menka has also in a very brief period shown us a wide gamut of the content to which poetry can be distributed. It's not just about diamonds, it's not about a 16-year-old writing extremely mature poems at that age and then continuing in her journey of self-exploration, self-discovery, and also discovering the world. When these two meet, then a poet is able to express herself. And she has done that brilliantly.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
May I just say I always failed my science class.
So, okay.
Few points of yours.
Okay. So the first poem I will read today, it's called "A Poem a Day Keeps the Psychiatrist Away." So, it's each day I write a poem. The wise ones interpret it as overflow, active passivity, passive activity, an aspirant's inept word play. But I am helpless. I can just write a few lines. I can't use an AK-47. I don't know how to use it. I can't even buy it. It's too costly for my slender purse. And I can't stand blood-splattered bodies. I can't stand torn limbs, open skulls. I can't stand faces arrested in grotesque grimace of sudden death. The pen is mightier than the sword. Pen pushers declare in self-conceit. But the sword gnashes its ferreted nuclear teeth. Tanks, bombs, bazookas, drones, torpedoes, submarines, F-16, RDX, lethal toys for killer adults. more grisly than the violent video games, in hot pursuit of oil wells or just to sustain activity in the market of military hardware. Dripping my pen in the stench pool of victims' fluids, I write every day. I have to write every day. I just have to keep on writing, blindfolded in a tunnel with no light. My words are hopeless scribbles. I ask everyone, is this the madhouse, this one here around me, ahead of me, behind me? Or is it that the walled Central Institute of Psychiatry, the lunatic asylum in Kake, neighboring Jharkhand, is it looking for me? And this would be Ode to Silence. Already Menka has read a poem on silence. So I don't know why, probably there is too much of cacophony going on, which is why we are writing these poems on silence. So, Ode to Silence. Sounds of silence trickled like silent teardrops on a monsoon midnight. Sounds of silence echoed as the blossoms of winter drooped and dropped, teardrops on a frosty night. Enchained words on silent pages, not the tapping sound of fingers on a keyboard, nor the scraping noise of pen on paper. Silent sighs, tense and intense, in search of mercurial silence, elusive, erratic silence, darting like a golden deer, a fleeting flash of silence among the swarming sounds encircled by cacophony, a floating island of silence. As silence as a voiceless tree on a traffic island, a stoic sentinel smiling at human hurry, a committed commotion of sound and motion. Silence like a secret wafting fragrance, silence like a wisp of cotton, silence like a fairy boat in midair, silence is the voice within, as our entwined fingers chat voicelessly, as a tender hug or a gentle pat composes symphonies of silent touch. Between the drums of thunderous sound, fragile silence curls precariously like a sleepy child in need of rest. And all of you, many of you may have watched the film Chennai Express and heard the song Louis Dance.
Yes.
My poem is called The Dhoti Dance. So this is how it goes. The Dhoti Dance. Those were the days when it was not about twirling the moustache. It was not about dancing in nightclubs. It was not about challenging the choreographer. It was not about grabbing the chance to dance the lungi dance. There were no music and drums as the dhotis and saris danced down the streets to face the imperial rod of power. Soldiers striped their backs, soldiers handcuffed them, but they sat like boulders. It was the dance of satyagraha. It was a dance of non-violent non-cooperation that shook the foundations of the British Raj. The frail old man in a dhoti led the British such a dance that their pantaloons and pajamas slipped off as they pranced and danced. It was not chance-pay dance, it was the determined dhoti dance. The youthful old man had choreographed the freedom dance. A nation danced to its tune, a nation danced towards freedom, as Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, the frail brown man in a capri dhoti, led the dhoti dance. Do we have time for any more? One more. So this will be a little bit of a feminist poem, or else my friends here, my feminist poems will think that, oh, something is wrong with this poem. Okay, this is called The Pillion Rider. I'm not reading Lakshmi Unbound because I read it before, yes? Though I would have loved to do that, but should I read that? Please. Okay, this is the new one. The Pillion Rider. No one taught me driving, no one gave me a bike. They said he has a bike, so what's your problem, you silly wife? So lifelong I'm a pillion rider. No one asked me, do you like to sit behind me? Are you scared? Are you terrified? Do you want a helmet too? But a helmet for me, he just won't buy. Though I am the driver in his kitchen, they call me a cook. Is that a common noun or a command? Cook, cook, cook. Endlessly chopping, churning, cooking. I know the kitchen is his, the chopping knife is his, everything belongs to him, every plate, every spoon, every bin, as my body too belongs to him. Why am I so poor, dear Goddess Lakshmi? I tried to follow all your rules, feared and fasted steadfastly for the moon to rise, though I can't stand pangs of hunger and thirst. Lakshmi Devi, in you I trust. My silks and jewellery are not mine. Nothing is mine, not even me. My body is used by him. My body is abused by him. I have no desire, no will, no wish. I'm just a poor pillion rider. I'm just a poor pillion rider. I'm just a pillion rider. I can only be directed and driven. I can't be trusted to drive and direct. I can only drive myself crazy, riding on this dreadful pillion seat, holding or not holding the callous shoulders ahead of me, not knowing anymore whether I am at all able or permanently disabled. A pillion rider on a lifelong traumatic ride.
Thank you. On behalf of Sahitya Academy and all the mesmerized audience, I would like to thank Professor Sanjukta Dasgupta, Ms. Ramesh, Ms. Shivdasani, and thank you everyone for coming here, being with us here today. Thanks also to the Secretary for suggesting this literary forum, and please write out at the forum. Thank you. You're all invited there.